Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Hoops Deep Dive podcast. On today's show, we're going to be doing a review of day one of free agency. Before we get started, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who supported the Instagram account at Hoopsdeepdive. It's been a great first month of content creating, and now I'm really excited to expand to YouTube. So without further ado, let's get started. And before we get into the free agency move, probably the biggest news of the day, like above free agency, is the Kevin Durant drama. So Kevin Durant has requested a trade out of Brooklyn, and it's possibly the weirdest superstar trade scenario we've ever had, because Brooklyn can't just dump KD for a bunch of draft picks. You know, they've given all their first round picks to Houston in the James Harden trade, and they can't just go full rebuild mode, say, give us your next 7 first round picks and you can have KD, because they still need to remain competitive and out of the lottery, really. So he's requested the Suns and the Heat as his preferred destinations. I don't see either of them happening. I don't think either of them have the assets to get it done. Like the Suns, they're going to want Devin Booker, and they're not going to be willing to throw Devin Booker into the deal. The Heat, I mean, maybe they could build around Bam, but you're not allowed to have Bam and Ben Simmons on the same roster, so it would have to be a really big 3-4 team trade. So it could happen, but I just don't see him going to either of those two destinations. I think, for me personally, Denver is a really big chance if you do Michael Porter Jr. plus picks, maybe. But the one I want to see is Zion Williamson. I think Zion Williamson for a Kevin Durant swap would be unreal. The Pelicans just challenged Phoenix in the first round. Without Zion, if you just add Kevin Durant to that team, they could be a top 3 team in the West. I mean, it's a chance, but I don't know if the teams would agree on that. But without further ado, let's get into the free agency moves. So the first move of the day was a much publicized one. Jalen Brunson to the Knicks on a 4-year, $104 million deal, with the last year being a player option. It is a massive deal for Jalen Brunson. I made a reel on my Instagram the other day just saying how I didn't like it for New York. But I feel like that's been said a lot now, and it's becoming a lot of hate towards Jalen Brunson. So I do want to cover some positives about him. He's one of the most hardworking players in the NBA, for sure. You know, there was a report that said he was one of the worst players in training camp day one in his rookie year. They didn't think he'd cut it in the NBA. He was that bad. And he just continues to improve and improve. So that is a plus. And, you know, he did have a really, really good season. You know, I just want to get that out there because he's getting a lot of hate. And, you know, it's pretty unfair. You know, there's a reason New York, Miami, a lot of teams would have loved to have him. But at this number, it is probably not great value for New York. But I do like him as a player, but he will become very hated. Next up on our list, we have Bradley Beal signing a 5-year, $251 million contract with the Wizards. This is a massive, massive deal for Bradley Beal. You know, the Wizards have been stagnant for the last 2 years, not really doing much. You know, not bad enough to get a good lottery pick, not good enough to contend or even make the playoffs, really. For those that follow my Instagram, who watch my videos, you know, the one thing I hate is teams just being middle of the pack, not doing anything, not bottoming out or not making big moves. And the Wizards just continue to do that. I really, really don't like it. I hope they trade it by the deadline. But the value is not going to be there. You know, his value 2 years ago was probably at its highest. He had a poor season last year before he got wrist surgery. I just think it's a really, really bad deal. And, you know, I could be proven wrong in if 6 months he gets moved for, say, Tyrese Maxey. But I just don't see it. And I don't like the contract. But, I mean, can you blame him? $251 million. You put that in front of anyone, they're going to sign. This deal, I love. Anthony Simons, 4 years, $100 million, $25 million a year. He was awesome when Dame went out this year. Averaged 17 points, 44 from the field, 40 from 3, 88 from the line. He was awesome. And then they shut him down, but he was a really, really good player. I question the fit next to Dame. You know, they're both so undersized defensively. We've seen consistently you need big guards to defend the other team's best guards. But as an offensive player, I love him. And, you know, the last 2 years of that contract, when he's 26, 27, he's going to be awesome. No doubt about it. PJ Tucker. This is a really, really interesting one. 3 years, $33 million. Fully guaranteed. At first glance, it looks awesome from Philly. Awesome. Like, PJ Tucker fits them perfect. The corner 3-point shooting is awesome. Last year in Miami, he actually showed a bit more of an offensive game. They let him shoot some floaters, get into the paint, and he was awesome. There's no doubt about it. He shot 41% from three. Like when you look at that next to Embiid, combined with their later move of Daniel House, they had a really, really good day. But the one thing that I question is 3 years. He's 37 years old. I'm not sure people are picking up on that. He's going to be 40 in the last year of this contract. Fully guaranteed. Will he decline? I mean, you'd think so. 40 years old is pretty old. But he has proven he hasn't aged a bit so far, so maybe he's still that player. But I just question it. But for now, for the next year and a half, great get for Philly. One of the better gets of the day for sure. As a Lakers fan, next one hurts. Malik Monk, 2 years, $19 million to the Kings. It's disappointing. He had a really great year for us. He didn't fit our roster well. Undersized guard. Got picked on defense a lot. I know Lakers fans love him, but he was really, really bad on defense for us. But his offense was awesome. And he was maybe one half of bright spots on the Lakers roster, because Austin Reeves was a bright spot. But it is disappointing to lose him. For the Kings, it's interesting, he's a good talent, don't get me wrong, but him and De'Aaron Fox in the backcourt, both 6'3", when you need a guard, the best guards, we spoke about it before. I don't love it. I don't love the fit. But I can't deny, good on you, Malik, for getting your money, because last year there wasn't a lot of interest for you, signed a minimum with the Lakers. Now you got paid, and that's really good, man. So shout out to you, Malik. Victor Oladipo, $11 million for 1 year. Massive overpay. Massive overpay. He played some really, really good defense in the playoffs. In the Eastern Conference Finals on Jaylen Brown, I reckon I'd love to know the stat, probably 10 to 15 steals on him. He consistently just picked off his dribble. But offensively, he never came back to being what he used to be. Yeah, the athleticism isn't what it was. Like $11 million. I know they lost PJ, so they had a bit of money to play with, but I didn't love it. Bobby Portis, 4 for 49. It's great. Heart and soul player for the Bucks. 40% 3-point shooter. Perfect fit next to Giannis. Nothing much more else to say. Another move I love. We're getting a bit more positive. Isaiah Hartenstein. 2 years, $16 million. I think he was really, really good when he played. He was stuck behind Zubac, and then, they'd play a little bit of small ball. But he averaged 8 points, 63% field goal, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's a really solid passer. I just think he's a really, really solid player. At 7 foot, he's got great length. I really, really like this pickup for New York. They lost Noel. Do they still re-sign Mitchell Robinson? I don't know. I'd almost like to see them trade him and just allow Hartenstein to play that role, because $16 million for Mitchell Robinson is the Rubin number, and that's a fair bit. So I'd rather him just keep Hartenstein. I think it's a great signing and starting to turn a little bit more positive for New York. Jalen Brunson one will get a lot of hate, but this is a really good pickup. Next up, JaVale McGee, one of the best backup centers in the league. 3 years, $20 million with the Dallas Mavericks. I really like it. He's one of the best backup centers in the league. I'd say the best personally. We'll get to another one later in this slide who could be in that argument, but I think JaVale, he's been a really solid center, probably ever since the 2020 season with the Lakers. That really rejuvenated him. Obviously Shaqtin' a fool and all that, but he's turned that around. That's not the player he is. He's a really solid backup center. I think he's said it, and I agree. If he was on the 2021 Phoenix Suns, I think they win the championship. They needed more size to deal with Giannis. And I think he's a really solid backup player for that price, Jayshawn Tate, though, 3 years, $22 million. You just drafted a power forward with pick 3, Jabari Smith. Not too sure why Houston's done that. Maybe they just wanted to retain the asset and he'll get flipped, but it's not a signing I love. Dwayne Dedmon, 2 years, $9 million. It's fine. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to alter NBA history, but he's a solid backup center for the Heat. Again, I'd say one of the better ones. Yeah, nothing else too much to say about that. Gary Harris, this is a really big one. 2 years, $26 million for the Magic. As a Lakers fan, I thought we were a chance to get him at maybe the mid-level, which we'll get to in a bit. But that's a massive offer from the Magic. I didn't think he'd get that type of money. 13 million for I know they're just securing the asset and they'll trade him, but it's still a pretty big deal. Like, even when they go to trade him, that's a much bigger contract than I'd want to take on for Gary Harris. But I mean, yeah, it's disappointing as a Lakers fan not to get him because he's a great defender. But, if he was going to get offered that type of money, there's nothing the Lakers could have done to compete with that. Nick Claxton, 20 million, 2 years. It's fine. The Nets are sort of falling apart, so I don't mind keeping him. He was really, really good in the 2021 season. Last year, a bit up and down, but I still really like it. I mean, in today's money, that's nothing, This next signing. So, for those that are not aware, I'm Australian. 2 years, 14.5 million for Patty Mills. That is atrocious. That is poor management by the Nets. That is a terrible, terrible deal. After the All-Star break, he shot 33% from the field and 31% from three. He's probably the greatest Australian basketball player of all time. He's been a great bench player, six-man type for his whole career, but I think it's just gone past him a little bit. 2 years as well, not 1 year. I don't love it. I don't love it for sure. Lou Dort, 87.5 million for 5 years. I said before, I hate middle-of-the-road teams. It's one thing I hate. Another thing I hate is high-volume, low-efficiency scorers. Because when you get in a championship team scenario, you have to just make the most of the opportunities you get. That's what makes the best teams the best. They don't need heaps of usage from one player to get less output. Lou Dort averaged 17 points, 40% from the field goal, 33% from three. Not great efficiency. He's a 6'3" shooting guard, so he's very undersized. He's a good defender. I don't think he's worth this much. I know I'm being very negative this video, but I don't think he's worth this much. From OKC, I guess they just wanted to fill their salary cap. But for 5 years, I mean, they'd want to be contending not contending, but be a good, solid team in, 3 to 4 years. So, I don't love it. Don't love it. This is close to the worst deal of the day. Chris Boucher, 3 years, 35 million. He wasn't even in the rotation for parts of the season. Was not even in the rotation for parts of the season. And he gets 3 years, 35 million. I don't know what the Raptors are doing, how they even justified him being worth that type of money. What other team justified? Maybe they had to beat an offer. What other team would justify paying Chris Boucher that type of money when he wasn't even in the rotation? I don't get it. When I saw it, I was so confused. Yeah, terrible, terrible signing. That's an F. If I had to grade it, F straight away. Tyus Jones, A+. 2 for 30, great backup point guard. He doesn't score, he doesn't really shoot that well. He playmakes, he sets up. I love it for Memphis. I thought they were going to lose him. Great that they re-signed him. Kevin Knox, 6 million for 2 years in Detroit. It's whatever. Detroit's going through this weird pick up old lottery picks and see if they can turn into something. We'll go on to Marvin Bagley in a second, but Kevin Knox, Fortnite guy, doesn't have a spot in this league. As a Lakers fan, you're about to hear a big rant. Lonnie Walker, 1 year, 6.5 million. The mid-level exception on Lonnie Walker. Lakers fans are hyping it up on the pages saying Rob Pelinka, master, best GM in the league. This is a disgusting pickup. Disgusting. The worst pickup of the day. Lonnie Walker, a 6'4" guard who averaged 12 points per game on 40% from the field, 31% from three. What are they doing? They need a big wing. I'm not sure how they could miss this. Why would they get another undersized scoring guard? And he's not even that good of a scoring guard. And their salary cap, due to the Russ contract, the only thing they had was this mid-level exception. And they used it on Lonnie Walker. Terrible pickup. Will he have his nights? Sure. But he doesn't fix the issues on defense. I mean, 3-point shooting, he shot 31% last year. It's not a great pickup. Rob Pelinka needs to start taking the blame for everything that happens. Everyone blames Russ and all these guys that haven't been put in a position to succeed, Rob Pelinka needs to start taking the blame. Yeah, terrible pickup. The worst pickup of the day, without a doubt. Mo Bamba, 2 years, 21 million. It's a weird one because all the reports were him and the Magic were done. They pulled the qualifying offer. But now he returns to the Magic. Maybe it was, they thought they were we all thought they were going to get Jabari Smith. They went with Parlo, so bringing Mo back, I like it. I mean, he's not as good as everyone thinks, but still, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 1.7 blocks, 24 years old. It's fine. It's fine. At that price, you look at similar price to what Boucher signed for. It's a solid pickup. Slow-mo, Carl Anderson to the T-Wolves, along with DeLon Wright. Slow-mo, 2 years, 18 million. DeLon Wright, 2 years, 16 million. Good for the T-Wolves, increases their wing depth. They only had really Taurean Prince, McDaniels, Vanderbilt. They did have some good wing depth, but they've added even more now, and I really, really like what they've done, adding some defense. Yeah, it's some solid pickups, especially Slow-mo. I think he'll start for them next season, and he'll be a really, really good pickup. Daniel House, 2 years, 8.5 million with the 76ers. I think it's really, really good. He adds toughness, defense. Was it a little bit of an overpay? Possibly. But I still like it. I think him, Tucker, Embiid, they should have a really, really good defense next year, even with Harden and Maxey in the backcourt, who aren't the greatest defenders. But I really like what the 76ers did today, and if they continue to build, they could be a serious championship threat if James Harden can be the James Harden we know. Amir Coffey to the Clippers, 3 years, 11 million. I thought he was a lot younger. I really liked what I saw this year. I didn't realize he was 25. Did they pick between Amir Coffey and Isaiah Hartenstein? I would have preferred to keep Hartenstein. So I don't like it if they did choose between them. But I mean, the Clippers are in a great, great position for next season. So, if they want to keep Coffey, he can provide scoring on the occasional night. In the regular season, you can give Kawhi, Paul George. They're going to need nights off. I don't mind it. Marvin Bagley, 3 years, 37 from Detroit. It's a really, really big commitment to Marvin Bagley. He was solid when he got there. 23 minutes. Oh, sorry. He's 23 years old. He averaged 14 and 7. It's all right. It's all right numbers. Oh, I don't love him as a player. But, 14 and 7, he was all right. He made a bit of a late season run. But we've seen many guys make those late season runs when, the regular season games, a lot of them have no meaning. And it's just, the bench players getting runs, getting minutes. But, in Detroit's position, he can slide to the 4. Do they play him and Durant together? I hope not. But I could see them doing it. But I hope not. But, he was all right. But I do think they probably could have used the cap space a little bit better. Joe Ingles, the Australian, mid-level exception to the Bucks. He didn't look good the first half of last season, even before the ACL. I'm not saying he's washed, but he's 35 years old, and I think that, we got to be careful what our expectations are. I don't think you're going to be getting 6th man of the year Joe Ingles, but in the playoffs, you're going to get a composed head, high basketball IQ. I think the shot, it dipped a little last year, but it's still on a night, could be really deadly in the playoffs, and, Joe Ingles, it might be his last year in the NBA, but he does have a really high basketball IQ. He's been a great player. Yeah, I don't hate it for the Bucks. Now here we are to the overhyped minimum deals. One thing, I'll say this in all my free agency videos, minimum deals are one of the most overrated thing in the NBA. You'll get your occasional great player like a Nick Batum who signs as a minimum. But a lot of the time, the reason these guys are signing for minimums is because they don't have any better offers. You look at the Lakers last year. Oh, look who we picked up for the minimum. But there was a reason. They were all old and they couldn't play anymore. And you see it every year, people overhyping minimum contract gets. You can find the occasional good minimum contract player. They're not all these great players. So we'll start off with the Lakers. They signed 3 today because it's all they can really do. Damian Jones, I actually really like it for the minimum. He's, young. He's got verticality. Hopefully he doesn't play too many minutes, maybe 10 to 15 a night. But, when AD sits, if you want to run Damian Jones at the 5, that's fine. He was solid for us a couple of years ago when he played for us. And on the Kings last year, he was pretty good. He took some of Rashawn Holmes' minutes. And I'm pretty confident in Rashawn Holmes. I like Rashawn Holmes. So I think he's an alright signing. Toscano Anderson, wing. He wasn't in the rotation for Golden State. They didn't extend him a qualifying offer, so they obviously weren't too worried about losing. But I don't mind it for the Lakers. He was really good on defense in 2021 season, but his offense is terrible. But, it's not the worst pickup in the world for the Lakers. Troy Brown Jr., a little bit of a nothing pick. He's a really solid defender, actually. He's sort of in that Derrick Jones Jr. mold with less athleticism, and that he's a non-factor on offense, but, he can give you some good defense. Nick Batum on the minimum. Lakers, mid-level exception. This is where it should have gone. He might have stayed loyal to the Clippers because they signed him when no one wanted him. I have heard that, but Lakers, you should have given the mid-level to Nick Batum. Would have been a massive get. Davon Reed, it's fine. He won't be in the rotation, but it's fine. Javon Carter, I actually really like Javon Carter. He can play some really solid defense. He has his offensive limitations. Would have liked to see the Lakers pick him up, but, good return by the Bucks. DeAndre Jordan shouldn't be in the NBA. But thank you all for watching the first YouTube video. Please like and subscribe. I'll be doing these every day for free agency. Or head over to my Instagram at Hoopsdeepdive. Do shorts over there, reels, polls. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching my first video, and I'll see you guys next time.